some minor camera adjustments, we're ready to begin this video. Now, in the last video you asked me to do this as a speed art, so that's what I've done. I've taken the video and sped it up. So this is actually at double speed, so I'm not just moving freakishly fast, for those of you worrying. Now, I'm very sorry for the complete lack of videos recently. I've actually started full-time employment, and I'm very busy because of it. And also I've been having some serious problems using Final Cut Pro. For some reason, every time I tried to speed up the video, it said it was going to take 14 hours to render, and I didn't have a time when I had 14 hours to spare. However, I've managed to get my old ScreenFlow software working again, so that's what I've done, is I've sped it up in ScreenFlow, and now I'm going to edit it, do some post-editing in Final Cut, hopefully. Anyway, today we're drawing Mew. Now, I was going to follow the Pokedex precisely, but I realised how boring that would be, so instead I'm just going to pick random Pokemon each time, or at least I did it for this one. For the future ones, you can vote on which Pokemon you want to see, but if either there's a tie on which Pokemon people want to see, or no one votes, then I'll just pick one myself. But if you want to see a specific Pokemon, then leave it in the comments, and I'll be sure to get that one done very soon. Anyway, Mew. A little bit about Mew. Mew is one of my favourite Pokemon. I love Mew very much so. And the reason I wanted to draw Mew is because I actually watched the first Pokemon movie again recently, and my heart was once again attached to Mew. Because, frankly, if you watch the first Pokemon movie and you don't fall in love with Mew, you are without a heart. But Mew is a very interesting Pokemon, so let's tell you a little bit about it. Because I think one of the funniest things about Mew is that originally Mew was not cute at all. If you look at the original sprite for Mew in the Japanese Blue and Green games, I believe it's Blue and Green, the sprite is actually terrifying. It looks like some sort of mutated embryo. And it wasn't actually until the American and European releases that Mew became cute. And thank God it did, because without Mew, I think my original love for Pokemon probably wouldn't have been strong. And I apologise if you can hear the train. I'm actually recording this commentary outside, because it's a beautiful day, and I've been at work, and I fancy being outside. But for those of you who don't know, Mew is a legendary psychic Pokemon, number 151 in the Pokedex. And one of its most special attributes is that it can learn all and any moves. Now, many people believe it was the sort of the original Pokemon, the one that all Pokemon then descended from, which is why it can learn all the moves. But Mew actually has a whole load of trivia and backstory to it, which is actually really fascinating. And if you played the first games, then you'll know that Mew had all sorts of information about it scattered around the game, particularly in the burnt down mansion on, I believe it's Cinnabar Island. There was loads of information sort of secretly put in. Now, in terms of the drawing, I'll get to it since it's sped up. I'm actually getting through the drawing much quicker than I was anticipating. But what I've done is, you've got to do it. I'm doing a basic outline of the drawing first in pencil. By doing it in pencil, it's easy to erase if you make any mistakes. But Mew actually has a very feline nature in terms of its face. So I tend to go for quite a cat-shaped face, and then you've got sort of very small pointed arms. Pointed claws at the end of the arms, but the arms themselves are quite rounded and very smooth looking. The body itself, you've got the feet of a sort of kangaroo, wallaby, or rabbit style. You've got very elongated feet with the sort of central patch on the sole. The body is a nice little curved shape. It's very simple to draw. The legs are the primary feature, and you give it a little bit of a round belly. And that's about it. With the tail, it's just a long tail which gets fatter at the end. Mew itself is actually quite simple to draw, but if you get it right, it can look really nice as a drawing. And for this drawing, I'm actually using charcoal as opposed to pen, because charcoal is a much nicer medium to work in. However, it is quite hard to get it right. You need to be quite practiced with charcoal if you're going to try and do drawings with it. With charcoal, the important things to remember is that you want to avoid having your hand contact the paper too much, because what happens is that you get oils from your hand onto the paper, and it creates a microscopic film on the paper which distorts graphite and particularly charcoal. So you'll notice at one point I actually put on a glove in order to help avoid me smudging the charcoal, and also to help avoid getting too much of my oils onto the paper. Now I'm just doing a basic outline of it, and then I'm doing predetermined shading. Now with predetermined shading, I've basically drawn a little line with pencil to determine where the lines of the shadows are going to be, and then I'm just filling it in with charcoal. And I've got this beautiful blending tool made, which is basically a stub. It's rolled up, it's really tightly wound up paper, and you use it for blending, and it creates much smoother blending than can be achieved by using your finger. In fact, using your finger is one of the least effective ways to blend charcoal. By using specialist tools, you'll get a much cleaner effect, and you'll get a much more professional looking effect. If you've ever watched videos online and they're doing these sort of super detailed drawings and their blending just looks beautiful, it's because they're using proper equipment. And I went out and bought myself all the nice equipment to do this drawing, including this blending stub. I've also got a putty rubber that I use later in the video, and the effect and the outcome of it is so much nicer. Now I'm just doing some basic shading around the face, creating some shape and depth into the face. Putting some shadow under the eye, and some nice shading around the ears, and using just a normal eraser, I'm just picking out some of the rougher edges, and then I use the putty rubber later to clean up all the final details. Now the great thing about the blending tool is that it actually holds on to a good quantity of the charcoal, which means that you can use it to draw with after a while. You can't use it at first, but once you've used it for a little while, you can use the charcoal to on the stub to actually draw in without having to use the pencil itself. But it's actually much easier to draw from to drag the charcoal from an original line. And the great thing about charcoal over pen is that pen's a lot harder to get any detailed shading in with. You can do it, it's entirely possible, but it's a much less effective method, and much less efficient as well. Charcoal is much more easy to get nice tonal work in. It's also easier to get blended quickly, rather than have to do either cross-hatching or water-dragged ink. Now ink does have its benefits, but for these kind of drawings, charcoal just works much nicer. Now at this point we're going around the feet, and adding in some final detail. I'm very prone to going back to things I've already done and going over it, because I'm never truly happy with a drawing until it's absolutely finished. Now, an important thing when blending is to try and blend in one direction. So rather than going backwards and forwards, it may look like I'm going backwards and forwards, but it's just where it's sped up and my hand's moving over the page. But the actual moving of the charcoal is happening all in one direction, because otherwise you get lots of streaked lines in it. Whereas if you do it all in one continuous direction, you get a much more even tone and a much better blend. Now at this point we're going into the tops of the feet and adding in the toes. Now one of my favourite things about Mew in terms of drawing it is just how cute it looks. The whole time I'm drawing this, I'm just sort of pausing every couple of seconds, just admiring how cute it looks. But unfortunately, I've tried to be really clever here, and whilst I'm recording this, I've brought up a page for some trivia about Mew, and the page is actually crashed, which is useless to me. But yeah, I do apologise again for the lack of videos recently. I've just been ridiculously busy, and my laptop is currently freaking out. But we're now doing some shading onto the feet. You want to go for much darker tones on the feet to show that they've got some sort of perceptive depth, because the actual legs themselves don't provide that in the art design of Mew. Also, I chose a much more cuter pose this time. I chose a more playful pose than just sort of looking at us and floating, because Mew does float. If you didn't know that, then seriously, what are you doing? You should really know everything I'm telling you about Mew, because unless you're very new to Pokemon, Mew should be something that you're well associated with. there's a plane flying overhead. I really don't know how much the microphone's going to pick up on. I mean, I've set the gain to just 6, so it shouldn't be picking up everything. It should be focused on my voice, but it's a very good microphone, so it happens to pick up on stuff sometimes. Now, why is it that my internet is being so bad? Anyway, let's focus on the drawing while it's freaking out. Keeping up a good amount of tonal work. I mean, this is a very tonal-based drawing. Some people when they're drawing Pokemon tend to go for the sort of very basic tones that you'll get in the games and in the comics. Well, no, it actually depends on what sort of artwork of Pokemon you are looking at, but the sort of very Nintendo art style is to use very basic two-tone styles. So you'll have blocks of colour rather than any sort of blend. It's just because it's the style of art that Pokemon is naturally associated with. But for my drawings, I much prefer to get the sort of almost more natural, realistic style to it. And I think it works really well with Pokemon. It makes them more lifelike. It makes them more. It makes them feel more physically there. And quite honestly, I was very, very happy with this drawing when I was done with it. Just because I very rarely actually like my own drawings. As an artist, it's kind of inconvenient because it means that I end up ditching a lot of drawings. But this one I managed to get in one go, and without having to record commentary at it, I was able to do it in one take as well, unlike Bulbasaur, which had to be re-recorded. But we're reaching the end of the drawing here, and we've got just a little over a minute to go, and at this point we're just adding some tone into the tail, and shortly I'll be just beginning to do the touch-up work, which is where you just go over with putty rubber, clean up all the lines, and make sure that there's nothing too rough around the edges. Because despite having put the glove on, you do accidentally get smudged bits, and it just looks much nicer and much more professional to clean up the edges and make sure that there's nothing that's out of place. And the putty rubber does a great job of picking up any loose charcoal and getting rid of it. Also cleaning up the blending. Even with precision tools, you can go a little over the edges that you like to set yourself. But yeah, that's pretty much how to draw Mew. Just going to title it and sign it, because as an artist it's nice to get a signature on a piece of work just so that people know it's yours. And yeah, hopefully that you guys will be able to learn from this and be able to draw Mew for yourself. But thank you very much for watching this. The video has actually ended now, but I'm going to carry on talking just because I've got a little bit left to say. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the fact that this was sped up. If I can get my internet to work, I will add the trivia into the next video, but obviously with these videos being sped up I have less time to talk, so it depends on what you guys prefer. Do you prefer the trivia, or do you prefer me to talk about the drawing? Whichever way you prefer it, just let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to adjust accordingly. I do love it when you give me feedback, and I do love it when you click that like button, because it shows me that you're enjoying my videos, despite how infrequent they are at the moment. I will try and speed up the output of videos, but I can't guarantee anything. Working 5 days a week does knock it out of me, I'm afraid. But thank you very much for watching this far into the video if you have done, and if you haven't already, then do please click that subscribe button. I will be putting out lots of content. I do intend to make lots more of these Pokemon videos, and I'll actually be putting up more gameplay again since I've managed to fix my recording software for the laptop. I'm also getting my computer very soon, so that will add some new horizons to my channel content. And it's all looking very exciting. But as I said at the beginning of the video, do be sure to vote on what Pokemon you want to see me draw next. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.